I'm Radmila from B2B Sales Community Sales Club, and I'm talking with Anthony Stears. And Anthony, you're helping business to be successful.
Absolutely, yes. I'm trying to help them take control of their conversations.
Okay, so what is important at the preparation before cold call?
The best thing you can do in preparation is to do a bit of research on the people that you're phoning, so you know a little bit about them and their business or their products, so you understand their business. And the most important preparation is to get a case study of an existing customer who is similar to that person. If you have that up your sleeve, so to speak, and ready to share with a new prospect, then you feel more confident because you can say, well, other car companies say this about me. Why don't you have a look at what they say? And it's just letting your clients speak for you rather than you telling people how good you are. And if you've got that prepped and ready to go on your phone call, you feel a little more confident, I think.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah. But how important is to have script? Is it important?
It's important to have a structure. You want to keep the conversation on track and you want to make sure that you get the outcome that you're hoping for. Scripts are a little bit too rigid, and I joked on stage and I said about the problem with a script is that the person that you phoned hasn't been sent their copy of the script, and they will say something that you're not expecting, and if you stick on your script, you basically distort the flow of the conversation. You know how a conversation goes back and forth like this, right? As soon as you start using a script and then sticking to a script, it starts to feel weird, and people then realize there's an ulterior motive, you're trying to do something. So yeah, I think that's kind of pretty crucial.
Okay, but do you have advices how to generate more quality leads?
So, generate more quality leads. Well, I think, to be honest with you, that's where the research bit beforehand will help you. I believe you're better off having a wish list of clients, dream clients you want to work with, and having 20, maybe 50 at most. That's better than having 5,000 companies you know nothing about.
Yeah, of course, okay. It's a waste of time.
Absolutely, and sales is quite hard anyway because your targets reset every month. When you know you've got 25 dream clients, you don't want to rush and ruin it. And so what you end up doing is trying to cultivate a relationship with somebody over time rather than trying to impress them with a big pitch.
Okay. So, and how to break the goalkeepers at the company, like administrators?
Oh, yes, absolutely, yes. So in the UK we say the gatekeeper. They're like a receptionist who is designed to block you coming through.
Yeah, but do you have any tricks?
I have a couple of tricks, yes. Okay. The first one is, I call it an over-familiar ask. And the principle is, you're trying to make out when you phone somebody to the receptionist that you know and you're friends with the person that you're calling. So if I was phoning Nathan at the office and he didn't answer and it was a gatekeeper, yeah. I would just turn around and say, oh, afternoon, is it Nathan there, please? Sorry, Nathan Littleton. And I say their first name like they're my friend, yeah. And then I correct myself like, oh my God, I've just realized I've called them at work. I need to say their full name. And if you do that at the beginning, 80% of the time, people will usually put you through because they either assume that you know them already or they weren't going to ask you any questions anyway, okay? That's with some of them. But the second stage, so that's the first thing, over-familiar asking for him. The second stage is over-pronouncing my surname. So normally, when people kind of go, oh, it's Nathan you want to speak to, usually they'll say, and who is calling? And when they ask me who is calling, I spell my surname like it's a really important detail. So I'll say, okay. Oh yes, sorry, tell him it's Anthony Stears. That's S-T-E-A-R-S. Thank you. Okay, now, I don't know if this will translate very well, but once you finish spelling my surname and I say thank you with a down tone, so I go, thank you. That means I've finished. It's a polite way of saying I've finished talking now. I've given you everything you need. So now 85% of the time you get put through, okay? But there's one final question that the gatekeeper will sometimes ask you, and it's what I call the premature elaboration trap. It's where they say, and what is the call about?
Okay.
The biggest mistake you can do is tell them what the call is about. So what I always say is, oh look, don't worry, it is important, but it's definitely not urgent. When's a better time to call back? Okay? And it's a really clever statement, because what people do is they go, oh, it's important. Okay, and then when you say, when's a better time to call back, it sounds like you've given up trying to get through to them. And people think, oh, hang on a second, don't hang up, because if it is important and I don't put you through, I might get in trouble.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
So it's a really good line that people will either, if they don't know if they're available, they'll usually just say, well, hold on a second, I'll just see if they're free, and you don't have to answer the question of what it's about. If they know that the person is in a meeting already, they'll usually then say, they're actually in a meeting till 3 o'clock, could you call back later? And you then get a chance to call back. Don't pitch at a gatekeeper, that's my biggest bit of advice, okay? Once they know what you sell, they will block you from getting through.
Okay, but how to find decision makers? Because I think it's really important.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting one. So I talked about the preparation with the case study. The best thing you can do is find people in the same industry with the same job title. Okay? You just want to find, so if, so I've got a client, for example, who does courier services. Okay? So they resell courier services to send parcels all around the world. Okay? And the way that they, oh, I've lost my trail a bit here, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think what I was going to say. Oh, sorry, my brain's gone blank there. I was just trying to think what I was going to say. This is what happens when your mouth moves faster than your brain, unfortunately.
The question was about how to find decision makers.
Decision makers, sorry. So for them, sometimes they will work with, for example, manufacturers, people who manufacture products in a factory. And the person that deals with them and gives them feedback, it might be the factory manager. It might be the operations director, who actually is the person who signs it off. It could be a dispatch manager, for example. What you want to try and do is find people with the same job title as the feedback you've got, because people will connect more with that than anything else. And it's actually more important to match the job title than the industry. If you can only match one, I would match the job title. And so what I mean by that is, if I get booked to do sales training quite a lot, and sometimes it's a sales manager, sometimes it's the owner of the business, but sometimes it's a HR director or an L&D manager, okay? If I'm talking to a HR director, for example, I would rather share what another HR director says about me in a different industry than what a salesperson says about me in their industry. And the reason is they'll have similar values. People in HR, they will give much different feedback than a sales manager. A sales manager will go, oh, Anthony was brilliant, everybody's more confident, we're closing more meetings, and we've increased our conversion ratio, I'd highly recommend it, which is a lovely testimonial. A HR director would say, Anthony surveyed all of our staff before designing his workshop, so he tailored it to exactly what we needed. All of our staff said that it was really fun and engaging and that they found it really useful, and all of them have said they would have more training with him. Okay? So they will write feedback about the experience of working with me rather than the results they got from working with me, if that makes sense. So that's why it's kind of important. But finding decision makers, match them to the people you've got feedback from, because at least that way you know you have this ammunition you can use with them. Yeah,
it's true. And how not to be recognized as a cold caller?
Well, the best thing is my golden rule of PTS, that permission to speak. I phone people up. I mentioned on stage that I'd phone somebody up and I'd say, oh, hi there, I was just hoping to chat for a couple of minutes, but I'm assuming I've caught you at a bad time. Is there a better time to call you back? Okay? If you start a conversation, particularly with a decision maker, and you make it really easy for them to get out of that call, they think you can't possibly be in sales, because you wouldn't let them go if you were in sales. Yeah. So it tends to disarm people into sort of saying, well, go on then, what do you want to talk about? And if you do that, you find that it's more of a conversation than a pitch. And people like to chat. They don't like to be sold to. And that's why I always say, I don't teach people how to sell, it's about helping your customers to buy.
Okay. And the last question.
Go for it.
How to maximize the value of each call?
of each call? Well, firstly, write lots of notes. Everything that gets said, write it down. You will not remember everything. Information is ammunition. The more you know about somebody, the more I remember. If we met 6 months ago and you were telling me about your dog, for example, that was being naughty, or you got a puppy, then it's really good for me to be able to say, oh, how's the dog getting on? Like, is the training going well? And sometimes I can get you talking and smiling before you've even remembered how we know each other. Just by remembering those little bits of information, it's really powerful. Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, thank you for this conversation, and see you the next time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll get to chat again soon, and hopefully the members found this useful.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.